Hey, happy Easter. Even though things in our culture, in our world are a little bit chaotic right now, it's Easter Sunday. Even if you're listening to this a few days or weeks after the fact, this message is relevant for you. Even if you're someone who got dragged to Easter services, avoids Easter services, doesn't set foot in church, is skeptical of the whole thing, this is still for you. I have so many friends that I've talked with over the years that had bad experiences with church, Easter, and then they just kind of lumped God and Jesus and the whole thing into it. And so when Easter comes around, they don't have time for it. They just think Easter bunny, okay, I'll do the eggs for my kids, I'll do this or whatever. But there's no kind of heart connection. There's no soul connection to the concept because of the baggage, because of the crap that they've been through that they associate with it, because they associate church or God as standing up on a stage and wagging their finger at them and telling them that they're going to hell. And so I want to do something different, shall we? Let's talk about how this whole concept is not, it's so much bigger than church. It's so much bigger than religion. And I think of religion as humans trying to work our way toward God, to impress God, to earn some kind of favor with God. Easter and resurrection are so much bigger than that. Easter is about humanity, about a new way of being human. And I want to show that to you and how it's so relevant today in the 21st century and in the middle of a global crisis. Because here's the deal. Death is not the end of the story. When it comes down to it, Easter is celebrating something so much bigger than bunnies and even crucifixions. Death doesn't win. Death doesn't have the last word. Death is leading to something else. Death is an end that's leading to a new beginning. That's what we want to get into. But first, let me tell you about something from history that will impact the present. This is from the scriptures talking about Jesus' death and resurrection. Here it starts. One of the criminals who hung there on the tree on either side of Jesus hurled insults at Jesus. Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us. If you can imagine the scene, two criminals hanging on crosses either side of Jesus, and one of them starts shouting at Jesus, which is amazing, by the way, because they're in so much pain with these stakes through their wrist, in between the two bones of their arm at the joint at their wrist and in their feet. And the way you die on a cross is through suffocation. It's not even the pain or bleeding out most of the time. The reality is that most people would die from suffocation because you're having to press yourself up on these stakes in your feet and in your wrists to get a breath. And after a while, there's just no more strength and you can't do it and you suffocate in just the most horrific kind of way. So it's amazing that these are tough dudes on the sides of Jesus because they're bickering, they're talking. One guy's hurling insults at Jesus. It's not enough that he's suffering, that Jesus is suffering, and this other dude is suffering. He wants Jesus to feel bad about it. And he says, if you're the Messiah, save me, save us, save yourself for crying out loud. You're a fake, you're a fraud. And I don't know, I think this guy gets a bad rap because I've been there. Maybe not publicly hurling insults at the God of the universe as he suffers, but saying, where are you? God, for real? I thought God was good. If you're really God and you're really good, get us the frick down from here. This is not right. You know what I'm saying? I've been up there before, feeling like I'm just hanging out on a limb, exposed, naked, vulnerable, with people pointing out my weaknesses, my failures, my flaws, with my divorce kind of hanging over my head and people ridiculing me, with financial struggles, with false accusations. I've done enough things wrong. Do I need the false accusations too? And you're just hanging there feeling like, God, why? Why would you allow this? Maybe you've had that sense in your life. For some of us, Some of us stopped believing in God or stopped talking to God or thinking about God on purpose because of that kind of experience, and we just gave up on it because God didn't answer the prayer that we prayed, because God didn't show up in the way that we thought that God should show up. God didn't fix the circumstance. He didn't get us down from there. He didn't smack down with lightning all of the people who were against us and put them in their place. He didn't take that person who did the false accusation thing and punish them. They seem to be just going on fine. The people who betrayed us, things seem to be working out fine for them. God, if you were good, why would you allow this? Some of us know exactly what that feels like, and then what it feels to question God and even to turn our back on God and ignore the idea of God and ignore that whisper in our soul because we've been so disappointed and so hurt by God. That's what this guy is going through. He probably grew up in a crappy family, had terrible things that happened to him that put him on the path toward being a hardened criminal like he was. And so he's there and he's saying, get us down. Now, the next guy on the other side, he's kind of plays a different tune. Verse 40 says, but the other criminal rebuked the guy. So just said, hey, shut up. Don't you fear God, he said, since you are under the same sentence? We are punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve. But this man has done nothing wrong. So for him, something clicks. And even though he's hanging there and he's in pain and God is not, for whatever reason, changing his circumstances, he's allowing this particular death to play out. But still, the guy's eyes are opened and he sees with clarity. Something happens in his soul and he's like, no. Don't you fear God? This is God. He's doing something. He's allowing this. We're guilty. He isn't. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, because we're all going to get fried by some lightning bolts if you don't just quiet down now. And then he said, Jesus turns to Jesus hanging there. Remember me when you come into your kingdom. Then Jesus answered him, truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. One of the best moments in Bible history. You have Jesus hanging there, one guy accusing him of, hey, you're not fixing my circumstances. I'm in this because of you. If you were really God, you should, whatever. And the other guy goes, hey, quiet down. If this is God, let's just honor this guy because he's perfect and we deserve this punishment that we've been getting. Something clicks in him and he is different and he receives peace in that moment. His circumstances are not changed, but Jesus says, you're going to be with me in paradise. All of that is mysterious. Heaven, hell, mysterious. We don't get it. Even the old theologians, the preachers, the teachers of the faith for thousands of years have debated this and view heaven and hell in all kinds of different ways. Don't get hung up there. But this guy in that moment has peace because Jesus said, you'll be with me. You're going to be with me. Paradise is for you. I just imagine that guy just taking a deep breath, even though physically he's suffering, his heart, his soul are at rest. And I just imagine him looking into just the rest of the time as he hangs there, just eyes fixed on Jesus. Unbelievable. However this plays out, just like ready to go then and there. And everything changes for that guy. You're going to be with me. This is what it's all about. And notice what Jesus does not say. Jesus does not look at the guy hurling insults at him and say, you smell that? That's your burning flesh in hell on the other side if you don't repent and beg my forgiveness right now. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say that. That's what people throughout history have done. They stand there and they point and say, hell, but it's manipulative. It's trying to get people to commit to their thing or give to their cause or give to their church or whatever. Jesus didn't even do that. In fact, what Jesus had just done a few moments prior was say, God, forgive all of these people for they do not know what they do. Why would Jesus ask for forgiveness for them if he knew that they were all, including this guy, were just destined to just burn in hell? No, he's saying, God, forgive them. Forgive them. Give them a shot. Have mercy on their souls. Allow them to know my grace and forgiveness. Now, we don't know what it's like on the other side. Jesus refers to hell. There's something to it, certainly. But this is not a message about, don't you go to hell. This guy went to hell and this guy went to heaven and they got it. Because we don't know that. No one knows that. No one even agrees. That the theologians throughout the last 2,000 years have not agreed on how all of this plays out. But here's what we do know. What are you experiencing right now? Because we know that that guy hurling insults at Jesus had a rough last few hours. He was anything but at peace in his soul. But I promise you, the guy who it clicked for, who he saw and just eyes fixed on Jesus, he finished the last minutes or hours of his life at peace. He knew what it was to be forgiven, to have connection with God, to know that he was going to be okay. And in that moment, even hanging there in excruciating physical pain, I think that he was overwhelmed with a sense of gratitude, of love, and of peace. So just ask yourself this question: how's your soul? Like now? Are you experiencing torment? Or are you living in peace? Are you trusting that the God of the universe has this, even if God doesn't change these circumstances? Because 2,000 years ago, Jesus, when he walked the earth, he was healing people left and right, changing their circumstances like this. I mean, just healed, just dropping truth that was setting people free. But for some reason, sometimes he let someone die, and he let himself die, and he let these two people hanging next to him die in order to show us that death is not the end of the story, that all things die, but death leads to new beginnings, to new life, to new awakenings. That if you just for a moment picture a tree and a branch. When something falls off of a tree, a fruit or seeds or acorn or whatever, if it's planted in the ground, the sun and the water do their thing, new life is formed. Something had to die first. Similarly, Jesus says, hey, just stick with me. Here is life. Living, breathing, walking with me. Not scaring you into, don't go to hell. No. Experience heaven now. Here's eternal life now, to walk with the God who created you. Like a branch of a tree connects to the tree, and all of life is sustained and flows from the tree into the branch, and fruit happens. You don't have to force it. You're just in the flow. You're just connected to God's Spirit, like breathing. All the time. That is life. Disconnectedness is death. So the people that have kind of wagged their finger at you and tried to manipulate you into submission to be a part of their thing, they probably talked about sins like don't drink, don't gamble, don't do drugs. These are all the things. No. Sin is disconnectedness. That's what it is. And disconnected people do disconnected things that are not leading to life, and they're not enjoying it. They're ending up like this guy over here, bitter and angry at God, and spending his final days and moments, minutes, hours, angry, hating himself, hating God, hating everything. There's people like that now in multi-million-dollar mansions, hating themselves, feeling isolated and alone, hating God. And there's people suffering excruciating pain who have peace in their hearts, who are at peace, who know the love of God, who know that eternity has already started for them. And they don't know exactly what heaven looks like. Is it there? Is it here? Is it then? Is it now? But they know that they're experiencing peace and connected to God now. And that is the point. That is what's possible. So if you gave up on the idea a long time ago because God didn't change the circumstances, there's good news for you. Every death leads to new life, new beginnings, and you can claim yours now. The story goes on And the people that crucified Jesus, they were so panicked that something was going to happen. It was uncharted territory. They didn't know about this guy or his followers or what was going to happen. So they put Jesus in a borrowed tomb, which was awesome. Someone just lent him the tomb, which is so poetic. He only needed it for 3 days anyway. And they rolled this big stone in front of it. Here's what it says: "Go make the tomb as secure as you know how." So they went and made the tomb secure by putting a seal on the stone, a Roman seal, and then posting a guard. So this massive stone is rolled in front of the tomb. A Roman seal is put on the stone as if to say, you mess with this, you're messing with the fierceness of the whole Roman army. We will annihilate you. Do not mess with this. And then they posted at least one guard, probably more. These are strong Roman soldiers that you just didn't mess around with. And that wasn't enough. Even though that these guys are trained, they're not rent-a-cops, they are trained assassins. Even though this stone is so big that a couple of dudes wouldn't have been able to move it on their own, it still wasn't enough. The stone rolled away, and it has still been rolling for 2,000 years, and it's still picking up momentum. Here's what it says: "Suddenly there was a great earthquake, and an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and rolled aside the stone and sat on it." Jesus comes out. He reemerges, new life, ushering in a whole new day, new life for all of us. That now no one has to be afraid of death. The death, the ultimate disappointment, the ultimate, downside is no longer the end of the story. And Jesus says, new beginnings for everybody. Did you know that there's an angel sitting on a stone with your name on it? And that Jesus is inviting you out into new life, saying, I know that you are bummed about what happened back there. I know that you're going through it right now. I know that you're afraid that these circumstances are going to be too much for you. I know that the money might run out. I know that the house might get lost. I know that the job might go away. I know that this person says that they're leaving. I know that you think that I let you down way back then, but I've been with you the whole time. Let me bring you into a new beginning. Let's let that thing die. Let's let that thing end, because I have a new beginning for you. And really, really, it's about the new thing that I'm doing in you, bringing you more fully to life and into a living, breathing relationship with me. Because when you're with me, you don't have to fear anything, because death can't even stop you. Everything is being made new. That is the invitation. That is what it's all about. Not earning gold stars on some religious chart by your morality performance your whole life. It's about a living, breathing relationship with the God who let himself be killed so that he could show us, A, how much he loved us, and B, that death isn't the end, and that new life is just beginning all the time. And that's God's invitation to you, to trust him, even in the midst of the chaos of our culture and our world, that he's going to spring newness everywhere, that new life is going to be born out of disappointment, out of devastation, and out of death. Yes, some things will die. Some things will go away. There will be discouragement and disappointment. But if you keep your eyes open, you will find new life sprouting everywhere. And if you keep your soul open and connected, you will realize that God is with you like never before, right in the middle of the chaos, right in the middle of the pain, the embarrassment, and the brutal situation that you might find yourself in. That is the story of Easter, and that is why resurrection is still so relevant to you and to me today, and that is why you can have hope and peace in the middle of whatever it is that you are facing. May God bless you and keep you, cause his face to shine upon you, and may he give you peace.